The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, Sandy Vicani here with Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I head up the Life Division here at IAMS and just wanted to say thank you so much for attending this webinar. Just really greatly appreciate you taking time out of a busy Monday morning ahead of a busy week. So again, greatly appreciate your time. Before we turn this over to John Inting, who will tell you all about National Guardian Life and the benefits of utilizing them as a great carrier and their great products, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items first. And what I'm going to talk about first is the IAMS Business Builder. And what I mean by that is when you refer an agent over to IAMS and that agent gets contracted, we send you a check for $50 as a thank you for referring that agent over to us. If that same agent writes and places business with IAMS, we give you 20 basis points on each piece of written and placed business thereafter. That doesn't come out of your commission. It doesn't come out of the agent's commission. That comes directly from IAMS as a thank you for entrusting us with that referral. That is ongoing. So as long as, again, that agent continues to write and place business, you'll continue to receive the 20 basis points. For all agents, we have something called a marketing reimbursement account, and kind of think of it as almost like a business savings account. For every $100,000 of placed premium that you do with IAMS, we put $100 in a marketing reimbursement account. That continues to build. It carries over each year. You never lose it. When you have a business expense, for example, whether it's for a seminar or a website or you purchased a computer for your business, submit that invoice. We pay up to 50% of that invoice or up to that amount that you have in that marketing reimbursement. We have something for our new agents. So anyone who's contracted with us in their first 6 months and places $100,000 of business with us, again in that 6-month time frame, you can choose a 2-year producer website that we create and manage for you, or you can choose a $750 cash bonus. If you'd like to hold off because you think, gosh, I'm going to, place $300,000 of business with IAMS in my first 6 months, you can choose a $1,500 gift card. You can choose $2,000 that will put in that marketing reimbursement account I just spoke of, or you can choose a Social Security program and 3,000 piece mailing. If you like to hold off because you think, geez, I'm going to go gangbusters here in my first 6 months and place $500,000 of business with IAMS, and again, that's life, annuity, MedSup, long-term care, combination thereof. You can choose a 4,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with a top producer of ours, Dave Pimper, a 5,000 piece mailing and seminar coaching with another top producer of ours, Matt Gill. Or you can choose my favorite, I say it every time and I'll probably continue to say it, is a Ritz-Carlton Travel Rewards getaway package where you plan your own destination. Again, this doesn't come out of your commissions whatsoever. This comes directly from IAMS for your first 6 months of writing and placing business with or through us. How to do that and get to those levels is strong back office support. And we start that in the very beginning by setting you up with paperless contracting. So you fill out your contracting paperwork, you choose the carrier or carriers you're interested in, and you send that back in to us, and we'll set you up electronically anytime in the future. Give us a call and you want contracted with another carrier, just let us know and we'll get that completed for you. We will run your life and annuity quotes. We'll send you out forms. We'll help you with case design assistance to find out if it's best to go from a single premium life to an annuity or vice versa. I think what's important out of all of this is that submission to commission. And what I mean by that is when you submit an application to us, we scrub that application, make sure nothing's missing, give you a call, let you know that we did receive the app, go over any outstanding items. If exams and labs are needed, we'll get those ordered the same day and sent to the carrier that same day as well. We are following that case. We're touching that case every 3 days to make sure it's staying on the right track and issued and placed and out the door just as quickly as possible for you to receive your commission. any of our Life and Annuity Academy books, our newsletters, our website, these webinars here, all of that runs right through our creative team. They do an outstanding job. Whether you're speaking with Aaron or Sean or Jacob, they can help you with flyers and handouts, logo designs, and choosing the right color to catch a customer's eye. We have different websites that they can assist you with, whether it's your own that needs to be refreshed or whether we're creating and managing a new one for you. Any online newsletters or newsletters that need mailed. Real big right now is a social media. So if you're familiar with Facebook or you're on Facebook and you see all those advertisements, and if you want to you like to have your name or your agency's name out there and you're just not sure how to do it, give our creative team a call. They're more than happy to assist you with that to make sure we get as much exposure to your agency as possible. We also have a strong website. It's www.iamsinc.com. This website, if you're not registered for it, you most certainly need to get registered. On this website, you can run term and UL quotes, same place that we go when we run the quotes. You can also pull forms, whether they're new business forms or customer service forms. We have different industry links and news. Annuity grid, if you're wanting to look at the top 5 annuities, MIGA annuities out there, you're able to get that pulled. You're able to pull our current webinar schedule and any recorded webinars that you may be interested in. If you're shopping for E&O or you don't have E&O and you'd like to get a price, you can get that from our website. And then what we find really important here is our sales resource library. And in that library, you will find short 2 to 3 minute videos on, indexed annuities and income riders, key man policies and coverage, buy sell. You can pull different life questionnaires, medical questionnaires. So this is a really good tool for you to have. It is available 24/7. So if it's after hours and you need to run a quote or pull a form, you're able to do that. Again, if you're not registered, I encourage you to get registered. If you need assistance with that, I'll be happy to help you. So I'll put out a poll question here. We just have a couple of them. And one of them being with IAMS Wealth Management. So when the DOL ruling came out, we really sat here at IAMS to try to figure out how we can assist our agents in capturing as much revenue as possible without their clients going outside of that circle of the relationship that you've established with them. And so we created an IAMS Wealth Management division. And the reason we did that is to help you increase revenue. You're able to offer a full range of different products and services to help you increase that revenue and to help you with client retention. And then you're also viewed differently by your clients. You're also viewed as a fiduciary. If anyone thinks this DOL ruling is going away, it's not. There's a lot of changes that have happened. There's still changes to come. If you want to know what those are or what the current updates are on that, check yes to this poll question, and we'll be more than happy to get that information out for you. If you have a Series 65 and you're interested in finding out what it takes to move it over, we can get that completed. If you're looking to get your Series 65 and you don't know what steps to take, we're able to help you with that as well. Or if you're not interested in your Series 65 and you still want to know how you can capture that revenue, we're able to assist you as well with that. We're not able to unless you check yes to that poll question. Again, you're not signing up for anything. It's just asking for some additional information on where we currently are. So we also have a Life and Annuity Academy. So excited for this. This is industry recognized. It is an all expense paid trip. So we cover all your airfare, your lodging, your meals. We have actually one coming up that John Enting will be there to talk about National Guardian Life, March 13th through the 15th. That one is obviously closed, but we do have another one coming up May 8th through the 10th. We fly agents from all over the United States and go over different sales ideas and strategies from top producers such as John and Ting. We unravel indexed annuities and when's a great time to utilize an income rider. We go over different industry threats and trends and how to overcome client objections. Top seminar system and what works best for your region, whether that is cookies and coffee in a library or whether it's your more formal sit-down seminars. We have large life case marketing with single premium life, with executive bonus structures, with anything and everything in between, private financing, infinite banking. We go over different insurance concepts, wealth transfer tools, software tools. Again, we have close to 1,000 agents register. We choose between 35 and 40. By checking yes to this poll question, you're just asking for more additional information, which will get that out to you. Our next academy is May 8th through the 10th, so I encourage you to check yes and see if it's a great fit for you. So in addition to high commission and great incentives from different carriers, we here at IAMS also thought it was important to offer an incentive to agents and their guests. And so we have a 2019 Marketing Summit. That is August 25th through the 29th in Naples, Florida, the Ritz-Carlton. It is absolutely beautiful. Again, we want as many agents and their guests to be there as possible. And so we have long invitational periods, January 1st of 2018 all the way through June 30th of 2019. If you'd like to attend, the only way you're able to do that is to make sure that you're contracted with IAMS, writing and placing business. And you can do that with a combination of $3 million in annuity premium, $1.5 million in Medicare SUP premium, $2.25 in single premium life, $250,000 in life target premium, or $600,000 in long-term care premium. John and Ting attends these. He's a great top producer of ours. I think that he would agree that these feel like family reunions. We are very proud of these trips, and we're so happy to see new agents being able to attend, as well as our seasoned agents each and every year. So again, if you're interested in attending, the only way you can is to make sure you're contracted, writing and placing business with us. So right now what I'm going to do is change it over to John Enting, and he will go over just the importance of National Guardian Life and why you should utilize them. John, if you'd like to take over.
Yeah, Sandy, the only problem is I'm having trouble seeing my screen.
We can see it, and I'm not sure why you're not able to see your screen.
Give me just a second here.
Sure.
I'm gonna see if I can get it pulled up here.
And while you're getting that pulled up, I just want to remind everyone that you will be receiving a recorded version of this. So we'll make sure to get that sent out to you. You'll have that later on this afternoon. If we can get John to get his screen up.
Yeah, give me just a second, Sandy. I
Sure.
don't know why it's not.
No, you're fine. I'll go over a few more items. If anyone has any questions while we're trying to get this pulled up, you can, of course, write those questions down. We'll get those answered at the end of the academy, or I'm sorry, at the end of this webinar. Anyone who's not familiar with IAMS, we've been in business for 32 plus years. Same owners. We have Charles Hiring and Steve Murray.
Sandy, you're going to have to give me just 1 second.
Sure.
I apologize, but
no,
I don't know why
I can see what you're doing, but
yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up on our screen. That's odd. Can you see me open in Mail?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, so let's go over here. I don't know why it's showing on that screen. Yeah, I can't see the presentation at all.
Okay, so what we can do is we'll be happy to what I'll do is I'll send out a previously recorded version of this to everyone who has attended. Make sure that we get that sent over to you from John, and we'll also get this rescheduled. I will personally call each and every one of you, let you know that that has been sent, and answer any questions.
Sandy,
Yes.
before you do that, why don't you just do me a favor? I know we're probably on the first screen. I'm going to try something here and see if this kicks the webinar back open. I'm going to try to open it again. So give me just a second.
Sure.
And if it does, then we'll be good to go. A session
Wonderful.
is already running. Give me a second here.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. All right, let's see if we can get this one up now. God, I can't believe it. So Sandy, you know what you might want to do? If you want to do this, I'm fine with it. If you want to stay on and walk through the slides, I can do it without seeing them. That's up to you.
So right now we don't see any slides other than your main screen. So
Can you take control of it?
all I can do is I can't take control of your screen.
No, of yours, and then I'll just tell you to move through the slides. Oh, there we go. I can see you must have control.
So
correct?
I just switched control, and I don't.
Yep, you take it. Yeah, you'll have to run the control.
Yeah, but I don't have your slides, is the thing, John. So you have those. So what we can do is if you want to maybe talk a little bit about National Guardian, I'll get our creative team over in here and see what I can do. Okay?
And I'll go through the first few slides you can't see, but we got a lot of people on here, and I don't want to disappoint anybody. So, first of all, thank you for joining this morning. Sorry we're having some technical difficulty, but I assure you we'll get it worked out. I'm here to talk to you today about the NGL Funeral Trust funding with National Guardian Life. And just something I want to start out and share with you is, I am in the field. I'm out in the field every day, so I'm not talking to you from a home office perspective. This is a product that we actually use in our practice, and we used it for about 14 years now. And it's been very successful for us. So I think it's important that you know that, and we'll talk today about the opportunity that exists in the marketplace with National Guardian Life. We'll talk about the trusts themselves. We'll talk about the product that we use to fund the trust, and then we'll also talk about some presentation ideas and tools, and also the company itself. And they're a great partner. Again, I've been doing business with them for 14 years, and I can't say enough good things about them. But first of all, what we can do is talk a little bit about the opportunity that exists with them. And the opportunity is pretty big. There's a lot of people that are going to be turning 65, as you well know. And this was brought to me a while ago. And the gentleman who was a mentor of mine at the time, I didn't know anything about National Guardian Life or anything at all about the funeral trust, but when he pointed that out to me, I went through the normal process. I learned about it. I started presenting it to clients, and now here we are 14 years later, doing a lot of business with them and actually helping agents across the country to be able to do it with them as well. So very excited about that. We're all in the planning business. So Sandy, I can see that. You can go down to slide 4. That's perfect.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, so we're all in the planning business, and as we all know, things don't just happen. We're there to help our clients plan, to point things out to them. And so what we're basically doing for them is we're showing them their options on what they can do to plan better. We're showing them the plan, and then we're showing them how to save the money or where to get the money from to actually complete the plan. And funeral and final expenses aren't going to be any different. Someone's going to need to determine the services and pay the bill. And that question is who and when. And there's really only two options with that. It's either the deceased prior to their death. So in other words, they do some planning and they get some things in place, or it could be left to the survivors afterward. And I'll share a personal story of mine. I'm the youngest of 5. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old, so I wasn't super close with my father. We certainly never had any conversations about his funeral or his funeral planning. But on January 21st of 2011, my siblings reached out to me and let me know that my dad had passed away. And I've always been the entrepreneur in the family, so anytime anything goes on, it's usually thrown at me. And I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and the funeral director was asking me questions like, what was my dad's mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? His favorite flower, favorite hymn? And these were all things that I did not have answers to. And what it made me realize at that time is that all this stuff I've been doing for my clients over the years has really been a benefit to their families, because their families don't have to go through what I went through. They already have a plan in place. They have all the directives written out on what they want to happen, and it's a really easy, other than dealing with someone's passing, it's an easier situation to put your family or your spouse through. And with National Guardian Life, they have a couple different choices. They have the pre-need side, which is where you go into a funeral home and pick out all your stuff. And then they have the pay for the anticipated expenses side, or final expense, and that's where all of us would come into play with National Guardian Life. So typically we'll ask our clients how much do they think a traditional funeral cost, and then the important thing is to listen carefully to what they say, because that answer you get from them is going to be very important. And we hear everything from, you know, $12,000 to $16,000. And we explain to them that, you know, these costs are only going to go up, and we have a better solution to be able to help them fund these funeral costs in the future. Sandy, you can move on. Next one. Thank you. So what's the opportunity for you? They did a national survey. 72% thought it was a great idea to pre-plan their funeral, but 64% had not taken any steps to do it. And we believe the reason for that is very rarely does a husband wake up and look at his wife on a nice, beautiful day and say, hey, let's go down and pick out our caskets and plan our funeral. And the reason for that is the human mind can only contemplate your own demise for about 11 to 12 seconds, and then you just quit thinking about it. And your clients aren't any different than our clients. We're working with the same people in the same market. The difference is at Entain Financial Services, we're asking the client, have you prepaid your funeral, so that we can position ourselves to help them. We all know this market is huge. Over the next 20 years, 80 million people are expected to file for Social Security, and by 2025, there will be almost twice as many seniors as there are today. If you think about the magnitude of that, while if you're in this business and you're in it for the long term, you are positioned yourself wonderfully, because you're definitely not going to run out of prospects to talk to. And one thing we know about all these people is eventually they're going to pass away. That's just the way it is. And this is a plan that we know that their family will utilize at some point in the future. So when we talk to our clients about it, we usually start talking to them about long-term care. In other words, we'll point out some facts. You know, 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need some type of care. We go over the average cost of long-term care, which these numbers are actually more like 75 and 90,000 per year now. It's growing at a 4% rate. And so we explained to them that, you know, if they don't have any long-term care protection in place, which 93% of all Americans don't, that they're going to have to spend down through all of their assets and try to qualify for Medicaid, which is basically government assistance in the nursing home. So what we like to do is we like to show them how this all fits together with National Guardian Life, where we can blend that financial protection of life insurance while using the irrevocable funeral trust to protect the money. So we're going to set that money aside permanently and know it's only going to be utilized for final expenses. And then by using the trust to hold the funds, we've effectively spent down that money, and this can keep the money from having to be spent at the nursing home and have it rather go to what they are going to need it for eventually, for sure, which is going to be their final expenses and their funeral. So the trusts themselves, we'll chat a little bit about them. There's benefits of planning with NGL Irrevocable Trust. They're going to give protection from creditors. The benefits are going to pay out 100% income tax free. The funds are available immediately. I'm going to show you here in a minute how wonderful that is and some of our experiences with our company and clients. The trusts are free. This is really important. I work with an elder law attorney that has an office down the street from me. He'll refer people over to me. And when he's doing irrevocable trusts for clients, you got to write him a check for $7,500 just to get the party started. And then there's additional cost after that. So we're not going to charge them for the trust. It's going to be free. Everyone's going to qualify for it. We're going to pay for their funeral expenses. We're not going to have to worry about probate costs and delays, and the funds are totally portable. And the important thing to this is, if you have a client whose kid, I just had one, as a matter of fact, his son took a job in Florida, and they just told us that they're going to move to Florida. They want to be close to their only son and their grandchildren. And so if they would have pre-planned their funeral at a funeral home here in Ohio, in Columbus, and then moved to Florida, there could be issues with that. But because they own the National Guardian Life Irrevocable Funeral Trust, they can use that at any funeral home in the United States. So moving to Florida is a non-issue. If they pass away there and want to be buried there, they'll just take the contract into any funeral home and it'll be honored by National Guardian Life. So on the next slide here, I'm not going to go through each section, but it shows you how the trust compares to traditional instruments that may be used to pay for final expenses. And what we're looking for is a yes in all those columns down there. And you can see with the Irrevocable Funeral Trust, it's the only asset that we're going to hit yes in every column going across the bottom. So how does the trust work? Typically what we're doing is we're buying an insurance policy, and it's a single premium policy. And I'm going to take just a second and explain that, because if you've been in this business for a long time, you think with a single premium life policy, you know, maybe you put $15,000 in and you start with a $25,000 death benefit. Well, this plan doesn't work like that. This plan, they're going to put the $15,000 in. Remember, it's an asset protection plan. So when they put the $15,000 in, they may start with $15,500 of death benefit, but what will happen is that death benefit is going to grow with simple interest credited daily. So basically what happens is they buy the insurance policy, we find whatever money we're going to use to fund that. Once they put the money into the policy, 45 days later, it's assigned to the Irrevocable Funeral Trust. That money's going to be 100% protected from a nursing home. It's going to earn interest until the client passes away. That interest is tax-free. So when the client passes away, the claim gets paid to the funeral home. And we've had some cases in our business where a client, one example I can think of right off the top of my head is client's father passed away. The funeral home, what happened, the client called us, we called the funeral home, we got a fax number for them, we called National Guardian Life, we said, hey, we've had a client pass away, here's the fax number to the funeral home, and then we were out of the process. And within 48 hours, the funeral home was paid. The client told us that the funeral was actually about $300 more than what they had in the funeral trust, but because the process was so easy with National Guardian Life, a matter of fact, they said one of the easiest processes they'd been through as a funeral home, that they waived that $300 for the client. But if it was on the other side of the fence, and say she had a $15,000 benefit and her dad's funeral was only $13,000, then that extra $2,000 would have to be paid to the estate. And the reason for that is when you're trying to protect assets, you're giving up all ownership rights. And so we tell our clients, this is irrevocable. Don't call us and tell us you want to borrow from it. Don't tell us you want to cash it in. It's only coming out at death. And you need to stress that to your clients, that this is to take care of their final expenses and protect that money from a nursing home. So there's two different trusts with National Guardian Life. They have the Funeral Expense Trust. The Funeral Expense Trust has a $15,000 maximum in Ohio. We have a lot of people on the call this morning, so we'll, in a minute, we'll show a list of what your state looks like. But what it does is it gives you the ability to exclude the assets in order to qualify for Medicaid and SSI if you're applying for those benefits immediately. So the trust will pay funeral costs, and any excess funds, like I showed you before on the last slide, are going to go to the estate of the insured. But sometimes you'll get clients who have more money than $15,000, and they're just interested in protecting it from a nursing home. Well, you can use the estate planning trust, and you can put up to $100,000 into the estate planning trust. The difference will be it has a 5-year look-back period on it. So after the money goes in, as long as those clients don't need any nursing care for 60 months, then that money is going to be 100% protected from a nursing home. And so with a spouse, with a married couple, you can actually protect $200,000 from a nursing home. And then if they didn't have a funeral expense trust and they only had the estate planning trust, they could elect to use funds from the estate planning trust to take care of the funeral, and then any excess funds would go back to a beneficiary of the insured's estate. So when I do these sales annuity academies like we're having coming up here Wednesday in Dallas, the question I always get is, John, when do I use which trust? And in its purest form, it's pretty simple. If you're dealing with just planning for a funeral, the funeral expense trust is the way to go. It's great for crisis planning. The elder law attorney sometimes will call me and say, hey, I've got a married couple. The husband's in the nursing home. The wife's here in my office. We're going to try to apply for Medicaid at the end of the month. Can you do 2 plans or $30,000, one on her and one on the husband who's in the nursing home, and get $30,000 off the table immediately for us? And we can do that without ever seeing the person that's in the nursing home. The wife can sign for them. We never have to meet them, and we can protect $30,000 immediately. Or I do a lot of public seminars and in-office appointments, and a lot of times when we bring this up to clients, they just want their funeral expenses taken care of, and they want to know that the money's protected now, so they could be perfectly healthy, and we'll just write them a $15,000 deal on each one of them to make sure they have the money there to take care of their final expenses. Now with the estate planning trust, maybe Medicaid's a non-issue now, 5 years from now, or maybe they're in great health, like a couple teachers that are clients of mine. I did a couple of these plans on them. We're now through the 5-year period. They just wanted money protected to go down to their children, and so what we did is we set these plans up. That money now, if they got sick and went in the nursing home, is 100% protected. No one will get it except their children. And so, you know, if you talk to somebody and you say, hey, have you prepaid your funeral? And they said, well, yeah, we've already done that. Your next question should be, do you have any money that you know you're going to leave to a particular individual or charity that you would like to get protected from a nursing home spend down? And that's the real opportunity. You can pick up some pretty big cases using that strategy and asking those questions. So the product that we use with National Guardian Life is called the NGL Asset Guard. So we'll talk a little bit about it. It's just really a fixed rate product. So we're going to put the money in. We're going to get a guaranteed rate, simple interest credited daily. We're going to use the funeral trust to protect the money. So we get that increasing death benefit to try to keep up with inflation. And then they also get that financial protection for final expense planning. Now, like I said, there's a lot of people on the call this morning, so here's our individual state limits. And you can always reach out to National Guardian Life once you're contracted. They've always got the freshest numbers. But I think this screen's important for a couple reasons. Number one, if you look at Ohio, where I live, you can see that the funeral trust, we can put up to $15,000, and the estate planning trusts, we can put up to $100,000. Now that 100,000 is a total number. So if I did a $15,000 funeral trust on a client, then I could do 85,000 of estate planning trust money on them. So the combination is 100 total. But let's say that you live in Florida, and you can see in that far left-hand column where Florida is, they're not even allowed to offer the funeral trust. So what my recommendation would be is you still want to do the planning for the client for the funeral. You can use the estate planning trust and still put $15,000 into it. You just need to explain to the client that, hey, because we live in Florida, we have to go through the 5-year look back period. But I also, one of the things I always point out to clients, and I'm sure most of you on this call will agree with me, 5 years goes quick. I mean, that's only 60 months, and we all know how time flies. So it's still a great planning opportunity for the client, and why walk away from a sale and helping somebody out if you don't have to? So Sandy, you can go on the next one, through the next one there. And there we go. So here's all the expenses that are paid for by the irrevocable funeral trust. You can see that just about everything that goes on in a funeral is going to be covered. You can also see that it has a transfer of the deceased in there. So if you do have a client that has a plan, say they lived in Ohio and they passed away on vacation in Florida, they could actually use money from the plan to get the decedent back to Ohio for the funeral. So today what we're going to talk about is what we do in our practice. We've always used a single pay, and with a single pay, the minimum face amount is $500. The maximum amount you can put in obviously is $100,000, and then you're going to offer your client a growth rate up to 2.25%. And then there's only one health question on the application. Everybody is going to qualify for the plan. You will have nobody turned down. So, you know, there's nothing worse than putting your time and effort into something to find out that you can't get it for a client. This is always going to be approved. It can issue from 0 to 99. So again, if you've got any clients and they're in that 0 to 99 bracket, you certainly can offer this product to them.
Do you want me to go through one more, John?
Yep, please. So again, it's a standard health question. If your client answers no, they're going to get a standard issue. If they issue yes to the health question, they're going to get a guaranteed issue, but again, they're going to get issued. So it's going to increase daily with simple growth. So if you put 15 grand in there, again, it's going to, every day you look at it, the benefit will be more to the client, and it's an immediate full death benefit if you're doing a single pay. So it doesn't matter, you know, if the client puts in there and dies 6 months later or they die 10 years later, it's always going to be an immediate full death benefit to the client. And the thing that I think that I really love about this product is it couldn't be easier to do. You're going to see on the next slide that basically 2 pieces of paper and you're done. You know, I like to talk a little bit about when I first got in the annuity business. We're a big annuity producer, and when I first got in, I wrote my first annuity back in 1993 on a gentleman that owned a dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. And I remember sitting in there and doing the application with him. It was 3 pieces of paper, and the last page was the receipt that I was leaving with him. You know, I couldn't believe, number one, somebody write me a check for $25,000, let alone let me walk out with it. But again, the simplicity of doing business was nice. And as we all know today, if you're doing an annuity app or a life application, it can be, or a long-term care application, it's just you're inundated with paperwork. So again, with this product, it's basically going to be 2 pieces of paper in your state replacement form, and you're going to have the application written. This is the front page of the application right here. Again, it's very, very simple, even down to that health question there. Again, if they answer yes, they're going to be guaranteed. If they answer no, they're going to be standard. On the next slide, you're going to see what looks like to be the bottom of the application. And then the bottom of the application, you're just going to get the signature from the client, and you're going to sign off on it. The next page is if you pick up cash with app, you can leave them a receipt to show that you picked up the money. And then the next page is going to become important because this is the form that they're going to sign. There's 2 different ones. It's either going to be the funeral expense trust, or it's going to be the estate planning trust disclosure. And it's very simple. You don't have to put a funeral home in there because it's honored by any funeral home. But on the next slide, you're going to see that if you have a situation where somebody is freaking out because they're spending all their money at the nursing home and they want to get some of it protected because they are going to try to qualify for Medicaid, you can have them sign off that they want to. Remember, I told you earlier that once you issue the policy, 45 days after, they put it into that irrevocable trust. If you're doing crisis planning, you can sign off here. The client can waive the fact that they want to have it put in immediately and not wait the 45 days. So issue it, put it in the trust, protect it. And they have the right to do that with this plan. So there's your health question, basically. Just have you take a quick look, same one you saw on the application. So here's where the rubber meets the road. It's a great, like I said, we've been using it for 14 years. It's a great program, but it's like anything else. When I first started selling annuities, I didn't know much about annuities. I just kind of learned on the fly, and this is the same way. But once you become comfortable with it, I would tell you the best place to start, and I always recommend this to agents, is on your annual review. There's 2 things you need to remember about an annual review. Number 1 is you should be doing them. And number 2 is the people you're sitting in front of have already done business with you before. So if I were an agent going out to see a client, I may start the conversation, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm out here to do your review with you. Would you agree that all the advice I've given you in the past has worked out pretty much the way I told you it would? They're going to tell you yes, and then you say, well, you know, there's something that we didn't take care of that's been brought to my attention, and I've been meeting with my clients to get it in place, and I'm going to show you what that is and how we get that problem taken care of. And then you kind of launch into the presentation. You're going to stress the benefits of planning ahead. You're going to tell them it can be used with any funeral home. I would recommend that you go on Google and you pull up funeral homes in your area that have either had embezzlement problems or the money wasn't there when the clients went to get their funerals done because the money had been absconded with, the funeral homes went out of business. Point these things out that they're in control now because the money's with an insurance company and it doesn't matter what funeral home we go to. And then this is big, 1035 exchange on existing life insurance. You know, there's a lot of old policies out there that the cash value is close to the death benefit, and your clients don't realize that they don't get both of those numbers when they die. They only get the bigger of the 2. So if I have a client that has $12,000 in cash value and their death benefit is $14,000, I'm going to point out to them that, hey, we need to move this cash value over into the irrevocable funeral trust, because if you get sick and go in a nursing home, they're going to make you spend the $12,000. So let's get it protected and make sure it's there for what you intended it to be there for, which was your final expenses. And then again, you know what we get paid for in this business, closing the sale, but you are going to give the clients that peace of mind of knowing that they have a plan in place that they can count on in the future. So where do you find the money? That's the beautiful thing about this program, and I say this to clients, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you really think about it, we're not even buying anything. We're just taking money from our left pocket that's not protected, and we're moving it over to our right pocket to get some protection and get a plan in place for your final expenses. So that money's in CDs, money markets. If you have a big annuity book of business and you've got clients that are sitting there with penalty-free withdrawals and you know they don't take money out of their account, you know, encourage them, take it out. Do I got to pay the taxes on the money I pull out? Absolutely, but somebody's going to pay it at some point. But let's get some things taken care of that you need to make sure taken care of, which are your final expenses, or if you're looking to pass money and protect it from a nursing home, putting it into the estate planning trust. So again, the clients have the money. You just have to show them why they need to reposition it. So with National Guardian Life, once you're licensed with them through IAMS, they make all of this available to you. They have some really great brochures. You can call, you can order them, you can get your company information put on the back of them. The two we use the most are the ones that flank that Understanding Medicaid, so the Funeral Expense Trust and the Estate Planning Trust. One of my favorite stories with this, as a matter of fact, I just did a review with these clients last week, but a few years ago I met with them and I'd already done some annuities with them, and they had some life insurance policies with Nationwide. Had some pretty substantial cash value, and the death benefit was pretty close to the value. So I went through my presentation with them. When I was done, she looked at me and she said, well, you know, John, you've done business with us. We don't make any decision the day of. We like to sleep on it. And I said, well, you know how I am. I don't mind you sleeping on it, but the best time to make a decision is when you have all the information fresh on your mind. So I'm going to leave you this brochure, and I'm going to call you tomorrow at 1 o'clock to get a decision. So got up, got in the office the next morning, got in here about 8. At 9 o'clock, my phone rang. It was her. She said, hey, we digested what you went through, and then we read that little trifold brochure, and we're ready to go. Let's get an appointment and move forward. So the brochure is very client friendly, and in layman's terms, it'll help you help the client. So they have this planning guide that you can also order through National Guardian Life. I will tell you, it's a great tool, because when you sit down with the client, to put it in perspective, had my dad had this, I could have walked in with the National Guardian Life policy, this document here, handed it to the funeral director, and been done. So what this basically is for your client to fill out to put with their policy. That's going to give their family all the information that the funeral director is going to be peppering them for. And if they complete it, I was always taught that whenever I made a sale, to always leave the client a task to keep them engaged until I could get back with the policy. And this is that tool with National Guardian Life. So when I write a deal, I give them this. I say, hey, I'm going to be back with your contract in about a week. I need you to have this completed so we can put your policy with it. And Mrs. Jones, if I had never met you before, I could take this information in your policy and take care of your funeral for you. So very powerful tool. Again, it's high gloss, done really well, and you can get those through the website as well. So we'll talk a little bit about National Guardian Life. Again, you know, in this business, we just want to make sure the company's going to be there when we need them the most. So you'll see on the next slide that they're very well capitalized. This is what they specialize in. They've been around a very long time. And I will say this, and this isn't a paid endorsement. Again, I own my own company. But I have never had one issue in 14 years of doing business with National Guardian Life, and I can't say that about any other company. So again, great company to work with to get this done. So once you're licensed through IAMS, you'll have access to their website, and it is fantastic. You can see everything on the website, from your commissions to your contracts. You can pull up existing policies, tell them what it's worth to that day. You can download what's PowerPoint for your laptop or your iPad, depending on what you're using, or in your office, so that you can walk them through the presentation like I walked you through earlier. So a lot of great things on there, all kinds of marketing ideas, tools, applications, anything you would need to know, you're going to find on that website. So why sell the product? Again, we showed you the stats. The clients need it and are thinking about it. They just need somebody to push them forward. Great income opportunity. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. The trusts are free. There's no fees. We always ask our clients, has anyone ever talked to you about this before? 14 years, no one's ever said to me, yes, John, someone's talked to me about an irrevocable funeral trust. They know all about the funeral home and the prepay, but they don't know they can do it on their own. Funds are portable. They're backed by National Guardian Life. Again, a great company. Peace of mind for your clients. And if you hate paperwork, you're going to love doing business with National Guardian Life. So we'll look at the compensation. And this is just, I'm saying here, if you just work 10 months a year because you like your vacation time, and you could meet with 2 couples a month, and you only did $10,000 into a plan for each one of them, I would recommend always fully funding them if it's 15 in your state to do that. But in this scenario, it's going to add $40,000 to your bottom line. We all are trying to earn income in this business, and there's never anything wrong with having an extra income leg on your income stool, and this is a great way to get that done. So you see on the next page, if you look at the upper left-hand corner, if you look at age 61 to 65, in year 1, you can see it's a 13.31% commission. So if you were to go out and see a client and you were able to write them both a fully funded plan at $15,000, you're going to make about $4 grand for doing your review. It'll be the easiest $4,000 you ever made, and you're going to be doing a great job for your clients. So we don't have their next year's sales conference up yet. They haven't released it. They're kind of building up the drama for it. So when we get that, we'll put it up there. But I've been on their sales conference. I'm telling you right now, it's a wonderful thing. They do a great job. And like Sandy said earlier, you know, IMES is going to be having their sales conference. I've been doing this since 1987. And one of the things I love about this business is anytime as I was growing through the ranks that I would make a sales conference, I would always find the people who were the top 10, and I would pick their brain, because I realized I didn't need to reinvent the wheel in my business. I needed to shine the spokes up a little bit. So whether it's this conference or you happen to be at the IMES sales conference, the top 10 in that group is some of the best people I've ever met. They'll be more than happy to share ideas and strategies with you. So don't be afraid to approach them and strike up a conversation. So some of the biggest challenges with this, again, getting comfortable with the concept, learning how to present the product, and keep it on the top of your mind. Every client, every day. If you're in front of somebody, it's not that hard of a question. Have you prepaid your funeral? If they say no, you've got a great idea for them. If they say, yeah, we've already taken care of that, the next question should be, do you have any assets that you know are going to a particular beneficiary or charity that you would like to know is protected from a nursing home spend down? You'll be shocked by the business you write just asking those 2 questions. So the next thing we're going to go to, this is a guide for beneficiaries. This is something that I developed about 4 or 5 years ago, and the reason I did it, I had a huge client that we had about $500,000 of annuity premium with them. She died. Her daughter called me and said, John, I wanted to let you know Mom died. And I said, man, I'm sorry to hear that. Once you get through everything, we need to set an appointment. I've got a bunch of annuities of hers. And she said, oh, John, don't worry. We've already talked to the guy down at the bank, and he said he'll take care of all that. Just bring everything in, and that's the route we're going to go. So I decided I wasn't going to happen to me anymore. So I developed this beneficiary guide to collect new data on the client, to give them a client-friendly piece that they could give to their beneficiaries and let them know who they work with. And then we actually went out and implemented these, and over a period of 6 months, we wrote about $1.5 million more of annuity premium, about $200,000 of single premium life, and then about $150 of National Guardian life. So again, I'll share this with you. Once you're licensed through IMES with National Guardian Life, they'll make this available to you so you can brand it with your own company information. So on the next page, this is what it looks like for our business. And again, we want to put it out there in front of the beneficiaries. For help settling my estate, call my advisor at Enting Financial Services. We don't want to miss out on working with that money again. We took a lot of time and work to acquire and take care of that client, and we want to work with the money. So this is what the first page looks like. The next page in it, I have a letter. You can certainly copy the same letter. It's proved to be very effective. This is what the client will see when they open up the booklet. And then we have a financial organizer that's outside of the beneficiary guide. So it's a standalone document that we tell them, hey, we're going to update every single bit of your financial information. Don't hold anything back. And the reason we tell them that is we found out through this process that even our best clients don't tell us everything they have. So going through this, it's very detailed. We're learning about their kids, their family. And if you go to the next page there, you're going to see we start talking about their finances again. And question 8 there on the right says, have you prepaid for your funeral? If they say no, we're not going to launch into a sales presentation. We're going to mark that. If they say they have, we're going to come back with the question, do you have any money for a particular person that you want to leave behind and protect it from a nursing home? And we're going to note that if they do, and then we're going to circle the wagons. And when we bring this back to them completed, then we are going to bring up that question 8 and try to help solve that problem for them. The last page of the financial organizer, again, it's just going to be your basic information. And then we're going to tell them when we're done with this, the same thing I tell them about the National Guardian Life and that the organizer that I showed you that they offer at National Guardian Life, the Memorial Guide. We're going to tell them the same thing with this. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I'd never met you before and you had this beneficiary guide and this completed financial document, I could help settle your estate without ever meeting you. And then what happens is they share this with their kids. Every client we've placed these with have told us it was one of the best things anybody's done for them. And it's really not that big of a task, but it makes them feel good, and obviously it makes them want to do more business with us, and it solves a problem for them. So it's a win for everybody involved. So I'm going to say something, Sandy, before you jump in on the questions. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. I'm sure it was my fault at the beginning because I'm not the technology savvy guy I should be. But Sandy, thank you for taking time out of what you were doing to run the slideshow for me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And why we have several questions here, so I'm going to put up one last poll question. If you're already contracted with National Guardian, with our paperless system, just let me know. If you'd like to get contracted, check yes. We'll get that information out to you. So one question is, are there any e-signatures capability using this?
So that's a actual great question. I sat on an advisory panel last year for National Guardian Life in Wisconsin, and that question was brought up. They do have it for the
If anyone can hear John, if you could please type yes in the question area, that would be great. I am not able to hear him. You may be able to. Again, if you're able to hear John, if someone just wants to type yes, you can hear John. That would be wonderful. In the question.
So there you go. Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, okay. You cut out. Go
Great.
ahead.
No, you're fine. I had lost you as well. So, all right. So again, we have everyone will receive a recorded version of this. I'll send that over later on this afternoon. If you have any questions in the meantime, please let me know. I'll be happy to get those answered. Again, this is Sandy with IMES. Greatly appreciate everyone's time and patience. John, thank you so much for your patience as well. And I hope everyone has just a wonderful, amazing, successful week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.